Right now, you are wearing clothes. You put them on this morning without thinking. You would feel wrong without them. Exposed, vulnerable, maybe even ashamed. But here is the strange part. Every other animal on this planet gets along just fine without them. So why don't you? The answer most people give is obvious. Warmth, protection, modesty. But those answers are too easy, too clean. The real reason humans started wearing clothes is far stranger than you think. And it says something deeply unsettling about what your species actually is. Let's go back. Way back. Not to ancient Rome or medieval Europe or even the first farmers. Back to before all of that. Back to the African savanna, roughly 170,000 years ago, when anatomically modern humans were already walking the earth. It was warm, often hot. Your ancestors were sweating, running, hunting under a brutal sun. They had no reason to cover their bodies, and for a long time, they didn't. Researchers have actually been able to pinpoint when humans first started wearing clothing, not from ancient fabric, because fabric doesn't survive that long, but from something you would never expect. Lice! Evolutionary biologist Mark Stoneking at the Max Planck Institute led a landmark study that compared the DNA of head lice to body lice. Here is why that matters. Body lice, the kind that live in clothing, are genetically distinct from head lice. They evolved separately, and by measuring how long ago those two louse populations diverged, scientists could estimate when humans first provided a new habitat for body lice to evolve into. That habitat was clothing. The answer the lice gave? Roughly 170,000 years ago. Some estimates push it closer to 83,000 years ago. The point is, clothing is not a recent invention. It predates agriculture. It predates civilization. It might even predate the great human migration out of Africa. But why then? If the climate was warm, if humans had survived millions of years without clothing before that point, what changed? This is where the story gets uncomfortable. Around 170,000 years ago, something catastrophic happened to the human population. Geneticists have found evidence of a severe bottleneck, a dramatic crash in human numbers, likely caused by a prolonged glacial period. The climate shifted, food became scarce. Populations that had spread across Africa were pushed into smaller refugia, survivable pockets near coastlines and southern regions. Some researchers estimate that the total human population may have dropped to just a few thousand individuals. Your entire species nearly ended. And in that crisis, something shifted. Not just behaviorally, cognitively. This period overlaps with what archaeologists call the dawn of behavioral modernity. The first appearance of symbolic thought, long-distance trade, personal ornamentation, complex tools. Humans were doing something no animal had done before. They were planning, imagining, solving problems that hadn't happened yet. Clothing was part of that leap, not just warmth, strategy. Anthropologist Ian Gilligan at the University of Sydney has spent years arguing that clothing emerged primarily as a thermal regulation strategy during cold periods. But his deeper point is what makes it remarkable. Clothing is, at its core, a cognitive artifact. It requires you to imagine a future cold night before it arrives. It requires you to kill an animal not just for food, but for its skin. To plan, to construct, to wear something that has no immediate survival payoff in the moment you make it. Clothing is proof that your ancestors had learned to live in the future as well as the present. No other animal does this. A bear grows a winter coat. A bird migrates. These are biological responses written into the genome over thousands of generations. Clothing is something else entirely. It is a decision, a tool, an idea made physical. And here is where it gets even stranger. Because clothing didn't just protect the body, it changed what the body meant. Before clothing, your body was just your body. A biological object subject to the same rules as any other animal's body. When humans began covering it, they began separating themselves from the animal world. The body became something private, something that could be revealed or concealed, something with social meaning. Archaeologist Francesco Derrico, whose work on early human symbolic behavior has reshaped how scientists think about the origins of culture, argues that decoration and covering the body are two sides of the same impulse. When ancient humans began wearing ochre-stained shells around their necks 130,000 years ago, they were signaling identity, group membership, status, alliance. Clothing followed the same logic. What you wear is not just protection, it is communication. It always has been. Think about what you wore today. The color, the cut, the brand. You made choices this morning that said something about who you are. Which